Well, today we're going to talk about how to buy a bow, and it is super easy. I don't know why more people don't do it, but there's 2 steps, actually 3 steps if you want to get technical. Number 1, find your local pro shop. Number 2, walk into the pro shop. Number 3, give them your credit card. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's that flipping simple, people. I don't know why we don't have it happen more often. And it's probably because those guys would get divorced really quick if they did that a lot. Yeah, that'd be my guess. In all seriousness, I want to go over some things for a new shooter or even an experienced shooter that may have not actually gotten fitted to a bow properly their whole life, which, believe it or not, I've got some 50-year-olds that come in here, been shooting for 20 years, that have been shooting a 32-inch draw, but they're 5'6". For anybody that doesn't understand why that doesn't make sense, unless his knuckles are dragging the ground, he's not a 32-inch draw. And y'all will have to excuse me because I just ate Chipotle's and they jacked my order all up, which in turn has jacked my stomach up. Things to pay attention for, things to look out for, things you want to try out and make sure that you're getting when you actually go in to test out a couple bows. Now, if you're that guy that's already done your homework, you've shot for quite a few years, you know you like this axle to axle, you like this brace height, you like this speed, that's the one you're going to get, then fine, you don't watch this video. I swear to God, they put way too much freaking sour cream on that. Something that confuses a lot of people, let's say you're my height, 5'11", 6 foot or taller. A lot of people think they want a short bow, and that may be the case until they get out and start shooting that super short bow. Now, when we talk about the height of a bow, shortness, longness, whatever, we're talking about ATA or axle to axle. That was not in frame. So this is an axle screw right here, which as the name implies, it's an axle that goes through the limbs, through the cams, to the other side and holds the top part and the bottom part of the bow together. So from that distance to that distance is the axle to axle length, not cam to cam, which I kind of wish that actually was a measurement because that's your realistic length. It's kind of like IBO. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but everybody knows about it. So for example, this bow right here, if I take this handy dandy little whatever tape measure, don't know what it is. Colma, yeah, I'm not American. And I measure from the middle of that axle screw to the middle of the other axle screw. This bow's coming in at 31.5 axle to axle. To me, that is relatively short. Yes, there are shorter bows that go down to 28, 27. I think APA even has one that's even shorter than that, and so on and so forth. So here's what to watch out for when you're looking at short axle to axle bows when you're in an average height American. Actually, I'm not 100% sure what the average height of an American is. I'm gonna guess 6 foot, but I could be wrong. 6 foot, 7 foot, 8 foot, that's stupid. String angle, that is critical. And a lot of people overlook it because it doesn't get talked about enough. The shorter a bow is, the more aggressive the string angle is. Now, a lot of y'all are still like, what is that? Well, I'm about to tell you, watch this. I have no idea what the draw length is on this bow. It's gonna be short, but we're gonna make it work. So, string angle, when you draw the bow back, oh yeah, really short. The angle that I'm looking at, if my peep was in there, that is the string angle. So basically what I'm talking about, 90% let off, let down. There she goes. Basically what I'm talking about is how exaggerated or unexaggerated that string angle is. That's what's gonna determine, axle to axle is what's gonna determine that spec. For shorter guys with smaller facial features and just smaller everything in general, don't get offended. It's gonna work very well for them. That's why kids typically go with a shorter axle to axle bow because it works for them. The bow's lighter, it's shorter, it's more compact, it fits them. And if you do what I'm about to do and go from a short axle to axle bow and then immediately draw a longer axle to axle bow like this RVX Plus that I'm about to draw back, which is 34 inches, you're gonna notice a huge difference. If you've never done it side by side while testing bows, it's almost hard to catch. But like I said, if you got a shop that you're trying bows out in, and of course they'll let you shoot a shorter and longer bow side by side, you're gonna be able to tell the difference. What draw length is this? And this one is about the same draw length, still super short. Let's see, am I in frame? Yep, here we go. Self-filming, sorry. Still short, but boom, much better, for me anyways. If you've had issues in the past getting a comfortable anchor point, getting your face on the string, getting your nose on the string, and being consistent is probably due to shooting a bow that's too short for you. Another thing that plays into factor when you're talking about long and shorter bows is the draw cycle. Longer bows have a much more forgiving and easier draw cycle than shorter bows, period. And that's why you see a lot of target archers, they typically don't shoot anything under a 35. Most of them are shooting a 36 to a 40-inch axle-axle bow for two reasons. One, the draw cycle is more forgiving, like I said, and two, longer bows also hold on target better because they have a longer platform. The next thing you really want to keep an eye out for is the brace height. And if nobody's ever taught you what the brace height is, it is the distance from the back of the grip on whatever bow it is to the string. Now, that right there, so for example, this has a 6.5-inch brace height. That's pretty standard. The shorter the brace height is, the faster the bow. The longer the brace height is, the slower the bow. Now, there's some give and take there. Hold on, stand by. If we shorten up this distance of brace height, what that's gonna allow is it's allowing the string to travel more with the arrow on it, which is gonna give you more feet per second. Hence why some bows are obviously faster than others. A lot of people think it's all in the cam design, and that's not necessarily true. Some of it, yes, because you can play with the mods. Some of them have performance mods, this, that, and the other, that will give you more speed and more aggressive draw cycle. But not just that, not just the poundage, but your brace height is what has almost majority of it, besides draw weight, and y'all calm down, to do with the speed. And that's where a lot of people get confused and misinterpret whether or not they like a bow or not. Because, you know, let's say, for example, let's say we have this bow right here. We just set it at 70 pounds, 29-inch draw. It's a 31, whatever I said, 31.5-inch axle, has a 6.5-inch brace height. If somebody, or PSE, the owner of this bow, redesigned this bow completely as far as the brace height and made it shorter, made it a 5-inch brace height, so 1.5 inches shorter, it's gonna be a lot faster, but a lot stiffer on the draw length, or excuse me, on the draw cycle. So using this PSE decree as an example, once again, it has a 6.5-inch brace height. Now, if we extended it to a 7-inch brace height, it's gonna be more forgiving, it's gonna be more shooter friendly, but it will be slower. But I tell everybody the same thing whenever they ask, you know, what's the fastest bow? I usually tell them the crossbow, because that's not a false statement. But I always tell people, don't chase speed too much. Yes, it is important, but if you really want speed, you can shoot a lighter arrow. And at the same time, if you're not comfortable drawing the bow back with the brace height, the poundage, and the draw length that's, you know, you want, then typically all you're doing is missing faster, in my opinion. And that's why when a guy comes in the shop and he says, hey, I want a shorter bow, of course, I'm gonna set him up a short bow, but I'm gonna say, hey, let's try out something a little bit longer. You know, if they're my height or taller, which a lot of people are, I usually tell them, hey, you know, for your height, you may be more comfortable with a 33 or even a 34. So, you know, I'll set up this short bow for you, let you try it out. Then I'm gonna set up the longer bow to the exact same specs and let you try it out. And let me go ahead and tell y'all, the look and facial expression on a lot of customers' face in the back, once they compare a short to a long bow, and like I said, they're over 6 foot tall, it's pretty comical, because they're like, oh my God, this, you know, the string angle is really good. It comes back, you know, almost naturally to my face, to my anchor point. The bow holds better for me. And also, a longer bow typically is gonna have a little bit less vibration than a shorter bow. Not always, but you know, that comes down to different aluminums, carbon, all that good jazz. Well, that's another video, I shouldn't even said that. So a bow for me personally, I like that 33 to 34 with about a 6.5-inch brace height, or even a 7. I'll go ahead and tell you, a bow that is no longer being made, it came out 2 years ago from Bowtech, was the SS34, 34-inch axle, 7-inch brace height. That was a bow anybody could shoot all day, every day. It was fun, it was fast enough. It was, if you look at IBO speeds, which are like not realistic, but if you compare it to all the other bows on the market that year, then you're gonna be like, man, that bow is like 20 feet per second slower. Yeah, it is, roughly, but at the same time, once again, it's not gonna bounce off the deer. And you know, I'd rather have a bow that's a little slower, that I'm comfortable with, that I shoot well, and that's ultimately gonna make me a better shot in the long run. Something else I always tell people to be aware of when they're testing out new bows is pay attention to what the bow is telling you. And what I mean by that is, God dang Chipotle, I should have took an Alka-Seltzer. What I mean by what the bow is telling you is on the shot, pay attention to the response that you feel in your hand. Is the bow kicking back? Is it kicking forward? Do you feel a lot of vibration? And even if you do, is it something that you ultimately care about? Some people do, some people don't. And, you know, as long as you feel comfortable holding the bow on target, then, you know, you might not want to worry so much about, you know, is the bow kicking back or forward? Because you can fix that with a stabilizer, but that's also a good selling point for that particular brand is, you know, if the bow's staying straight up and down and holding on target real good, even after the shot, because you want to follow your arrow into the target. And a lot of times when a bow kicks back in our hands or kicks forward, it kind of throws us off a little bit and we're not tracking our arrow into the target like we're supposed to. I appreciate y'all watching this video. Be sure to subscribe and do me a huge favor and drop a comment. I need to do a better job of keeping up with my YouTube channel. You guys have done an amazing job of keeping up with me, and I appreciate that, even with the lack of content I've put out on this channel. It's hard to do it with all platforms, but I'm getting better, I promise. I'm trying to. Drop a comment what you want to see next, whether it be a review, whether it be tips, tricks, shooting, whatever you want. I'll be sure to read them and be looking for whatever that comment may or may not be that catches my eye in my next video.